Welcome, Guardians. In today's report, we will wade through the mire of conjecture and rumor to produce a factual report regarding the once esteemed warlock, Toland. Exiled from the city due to his madness-infused ramblings regarding our enemy's magic. His knowledge, experience, and intelligence are an invaluable asset to any individual wishing to find a weakness to the darkness. But what they may discover is something much more perverse. An ubiquitous fact on the consumption of knowledge is that any individual with permeating hunger will continue to consume more, never knowing respite, afflicted with an incurable desire. Toland the Shattered would strive to categorize and transcribe all information about the Hive and our other enemies in attempts to both understand their purpose and find the path to our salvation. Although exiled from the city, his name is whispered. Even in the tower, some guardians speak of him with reverence in corners guarded away from the speaker. Others would hold to the notion that Toland justly deserved banishment, as no guardian can openly commune with the darkness and claim the mind is unafflicted. Regardless of the disposition of either faction, the information on Toland, his journals, experience with Eris Morn, and the creation of the fabled bad juju will help us unearth truths surrounding his legend. One of the earlier journals of Toland the Shattered has been recovered by Guardians across their journeys in the inner planets, mainly that of Venus, Earth, and Mars. Fragmented segments would form a singular piece of text that a core array would eventually decrypt. The resulting success would lead us to something enveloped in mysticism, a weapon that reportedly needed to be satiated with the light of other Guardians to stabilize. The weapon now, labeled the Bad Juju, is a tool that has an unexplainable hunger. An excerpt from the journal of Toland describes this weapon. If you believe your weapon wants to murder all existence, then so it will. Weaponsmiths cannot determine the ultimate designs of the weapon, stating that there must be a structured, mechanical explanation for this weapon's hunger for combat. There must be, but none has been found. How could Toland possess the blueprints to craft such a weapon? Even in theory, this weapon is not a tool of the light. It flutters somewhere between the light and the dark, equally seeking to consume both. The implications of the bad juju are particularly curious. Has Toland found a way to turn our enemy's magic to weapons for our disposal, or is there a catalyst we are not yet aware of? As the city's think tanks continue to explore what has been left and rediscovered by Toland, his exile has undoubtedly left a continuing scar to fester within the city. Those guardians that pursue his trail find themselves endeavoring to find Toland's legacy, a road not often traveled, best left to the bravest of us, individuals of stout heart and stable mind. With this knowledge at hand, it is understandable why some would wish for his banishment, remove his perversions and darkness-ridden affliction from the seat of light's power. But what if this was a mistake? What if removing the only individual with in-depth knowledge of our enemies and their ambitions was an overzealous ploy, attempting to keep us safely hidden away from temptations of the divine? I can't say for certain, but some of us here in the libraries can't shake the feeling that without Toland's express knowledge of forbidden Hive magics, Guardians wouldn't have been able to best Crota and avenge Eris Morn. Toland was considered to be the foremost intellectual on Hive practices, glyphs, and socio-religious structure. His pursuit of knowledge led to his predictions of the return of Crota and Oryx long before they would occur, giving Guardians ample time for preparations and incursions. These warnings were washed away, considered ramblings of a madman too far lost in his ego, and prophecy to be regarded as potential fact. For these transgressions, he was exiled from the city, banished for his teachings and proposals, as the Vanguard did not wish the younger set of Guardians to fill their minds with delusions of impurity. Not all of Toland's teachings were influenced by estranged thought, as the loss or shattering of the mind is only a matter of perspective. As Eris Morn and Ariana III would seek out Toland for his invaluable insights on Hive Arcana. What remains of their accounts is written into various journals or recorded from oral transactions. Toland's knowledge of the darkness comes from several relics, temples, and his own theories regarding our enemy, but he has openly stated being able to commune with the darkness. When Eris Morn asked how the ogres, the towering abominations of the Hive arsenal, came into being, Toland responded, "When a god's will is met with force, its might will be unleashed in the form of those raging beasts we call the ogre, monsters bred of pain, tormented by the light, nothing but hatred for all who bring forth its suffering." Eris questioned, "How do you know this?" "It was told to me." "By the speaker?" "By the darkness itself." Toland is the only warlock, or guardian for that matter, that has reportedly communed with the darkness. This is quite simply the main reason Toland's whereabouts are incredibly important. Warlock orders, along with portions of the city vanguard, actively question Eris for the whereabouts of Toland. Toland could know their desires, weaknesses, military strength, and these are just the simple generalizations. We could learn their religious structure, cultural background, the dimensions they hail from, interdimensional travel, and sciences that we currently consider impossibility. The Vanguard may still carry the guilt of the first assault on Luna. The original plan included Guardians retaking portions of the outer surface, establishing a series of forward bases to act as staging areas to move further into the interior and remove the poison the Hive created. But Toland knew what awaited the brave Guardians, a feast of light offered up to an aged glutton. When Eris's fire team began to discuss the blades of Crota, Toland began to speak with a soft guilt. Those swords are neither bone nor steel. There is a dark purpose to their edge. Darker than death, responded Ariana. Death is a peace compared to the shadows, said Toland. Those blades cut down more Guardians than I can count, Omar replied. Hundreds, Vel chimed. Thousands. The Vanguard should have known better, said Ariana. I tried to warn them, remarked Toland. Toland warned the city vanguard that bravery and righteousness were not enough to defeat enemies older than this solar system. His banishment inadvertently caused the unnecessary downfall of an uncountable amount of our brothers and sisters. But this is not a reach to the past, but hope for the future. Toland's knowledge, his journals, his prowess, and the promise that his intelligence holds are still with us. Toland believed he found the true nature of the darkness, defined it in a simple metaphor. A specific piece of one of his journals allows us to glimpse inside his mind and understand the fundamentals of what the darkness is, and how it operates, and how we can beat it. From the journals of Toland the Shattered. Imagine 3 great nations under 3 great queens. The first queen writes a book of law, and her rule is just. The second queen builds a high tower, and her people climb it and see the stars. The third queen raises an army and conquers everything. The future belongs to one of these queens. Her rule is the harshest and her people are unhappy, but she rules. This explains everything, understand? This is why the universe is the way it is and not some other way. Existence is a game that everything plays, and some strategies are winners. The ability to exist, to shape existence, to remake it so that your descendants, molecules or stars or people or ideas will flourish, and others will find no ground to grow. And as the universe ticks on towards the close, the great players will face each other. In the next round there will be 3 queens, and all of them will have armies. And now it will be a battle of the swords, until one discovers the cannon, or the plague, or the killing word. Everything is becoming more ruthless, and in the end, only the most ruthless will remain, and they will hunt the territories of the night and extinguish the first glint of competition before it can even understand why it faces or why it has transgressed. This is the shape of victory, to rule the universe so absolutely that nothing will ever exist except by your consent. This is the queen at the end of the time, whose sovereignty is eternal because no other sovereign can defeat it. And there is no reason for it. No more reason than there was for the victory of the atom. It is simply the winning play. Of course, it might be that there was another country with other queens, and in this country they sat down together and made one law and one tower and one army to guard their borders. This is the dream of small minds, a gentle place ringed in spears. But I do not think those spears will hold against the queen of the country of armies, and that is all that will matter in the end. We can interpret that Toland believes the darkness, and more importantly the Hive, or the queen who has armies. They know but one thing, death and destruction. They end life without a second thought because it is all that they know. Generations of warfare and debauchery have led them to this causality because it has triumphed over law or security, because they define themselves in battle as they were created to do. Toland would believe the Hive are the apex of evolution, the endpoint of the galaxy and the precipice of genetic advancement. They are, by his definition, the queen of the country of armies. But what of Ir Yut, the fate weaver of death herself manifested into a form of flies and shadows? Toland had a morbid curiosity of her abilities, a song to the Hive pantheon ringing out in eternal blackness. Records are cryptic, but unraveling the secrets of the Death Singer could help us attain a fundamental understanding of the Hive. The song is death. To hear it is to die. To know the words is mortal. Oh, good point, Ariana. Death is just a word, isn't it? A catch-all term for the failure to go on. Nothing spiritual, nothing with its own quiddity. We all died once, and it did not prove insurmountable. But what if... Shh. Listen. What if death were refined, described in its totality, made autonomous and universal, separate from any context or condition? What if she could invoke the ending of anything? How, then, would she know the song and sing it without herself dying? Perhaps they know a way to make themselves a part of the song, part of something vast and burning that rots and peels into ash but never, ever ends. Perhaps she has engineered this for him and pinned his power up against the quiddity of death itself. I am so terribly curious to know. Toland would reach deeply into the quagmire of the Hive intellect and question the constructs of the Death Singer. Could she be separated from the end of existence? She no longer lives, but she is not gone either. Could we apply this separation to our guardians, to ourselves, our minds, and ideas? If Toland found the secret, we could apply this knowledge and be outside the rules of existence as the Hive are. The Hive are not dead, they are death. But this fact does not grant them immunity. In the cryptic transcriptions of Toland lies the path to our salvation. We simply cannot turn it away a second time. We cannot look back and change the past, but we can redeem. We should not fear the texts of Toland, we should embrace them. Let them occupy our mind, our thoughts, and our aspirations. Because Toland has showed us that the touched mind is more complex than the feeble one, that fear of the unknown should be cast into the wind and forgotten. Toland has not allowed his consumption of knowledge to destroy him, but empower him. He is changed. But should we not risk this? Risk understanding the song of the Death Singer. Risk transgressions into the Hive nether to defeat a god. Risk the consumption of knowledge that could break our minds. The trials and tribulations of Toland the Shattered are all around us, but they hold something our enemies will never understand. Hope. The belief that we are greater. Do not fear the forbidden, guardians. Consume it.